I just want to remind you that you're going to crush it today.
Yo, welcome back to the lab. I'm your host, Elias Benjaloon. Join me as we dive into the science behind the hustle of badass entrepreneurs working smarter, not just harder. In every experiment, we're going to dive in on business tactics and life lessons, enjoy some hip hop, and experience a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's win this digital revolution together. As always, we're going to kick things off with some dope music, so I'll see you in there. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the lab for another episode of the Hustle Science Experiment. Today, we are graced by the technologist, Karthik Gunasekaran. He is the Vice President and Head of Product Innovation at Kaplan. He has over 10 years of experience in leveraging technology to make a positive impact in the world. He has a master's in artificial intelligence and the application of education. I'm super excited to have you with us today and to start talking to you. Thanks for being on the show, Karthik. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Elias. Yeah, good to be on board, and looking forward to having this nice chat with you.
Awesome, man. So, we always kick this off by talking about the journey that has brought you here. I mean, you have such an incredible background in technology, multiple higher education degrees, you're a global citizen. What has brought you to this point to be able to make the impact that you're making today?
Yeah, I mean, certainly has been an exciting journey, and I've taken a couple of pivots in my career and my life. So, what has brought me in? So, I started my journey as an engineer. I did my engineering in Dubai, and naturally, being in the Middle East, got into the oil and gas industry. Worked there as an engineer. Worked for companies like Honeywell and Penn building, oil and gas pipelines. Traveled to a number of different countries. So was a core technologist there, building new products for the energy companies. I think that's around the time when I realized, energy industry is not exactly the most sexy industries. It's in fact, I realized that I was working for the bad guys.
It's impactful, but they're positively impactful. It's like one of those necessary evils right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the realization kicked in. It's like it's not the best place to be. I thought, no offense, but it's really not helping the environment or anything. So I decided that my technology skills need to be applied to something more useful, something that will benefit mankind, something that can help people succeed in their lives. So I always was on the lookout, and eventually I quit the energy industry, and then I went on to do my business degree. I did my MBA here in the United States, which is how I came to the United States. And I was constantly, exploring different industries, which is when I got introduced to the startup community at the university. And it was during this time that, I stumbled upon the world of educational technology. And pretty soon I was writing the business case for a couple of co-founders who had this, really nice idea of test prep education through mobile apps. And so we got together, wrote the business case, approached investors, VCs, etc. Built the company, went from 4 employees to 50 employees. It was a very nice, startup journey, a typical, very good success story that we had. Scaled the company. Right after business school, when I graduated, I was faced with a dilemma, like, should I go for this comfortable 9 to 5 nice job, or should I, take all the risk and, go into this uncertain, cash-strapped startup experience? I chose the startup experience just because I think my risk appetite was a bit too high at that time. I think it still is, but it was a very risky venture. Ventured into it. Was definitely an awesome experience. Was there for about 4 years. Scaled the company. The company still exists. It's called Higher Learning Technologies. And then after that, I moved on to the ACT, which conducts all the assessment. So again, I was there as a new product development guy, heading the innovation and new product development unit at ACT, helping them build new products. Apart from the standardized assessment, what are the other areas where technology can enhance the learning experience. So those kinds of, so I was heading that department in ACT. And now I moved on to Kaplan, where I believe it's a much bigger company with much more impactful, which is much more impactful, much more innovative, and more of a technology play here. And I think here there is more of a global implication in education. I mean, Kaplan education is well known in the world. It's probably there in almost every single company, every single country, I guess. Been in the business for more than 60 years, and helping people get educated and have a successful professional life. So yeah, happy to be here, and building new products and bringing in new technology innovations into the learning experience for people to be successful.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. I'm, inspired by the journey. I told you before, I love the ed tech space, and I think you're doing some incredible work, and have definitely made the right moves to put yourself into a position of power in order to make that kind of impact, like you are over at Kaplan. I'm curious, before we dive into the business lesson and life lesson, if it's okay with you, what is your, how's your day-to-day like, managing, technology for such a massive company?
Exciting. I guess, yeah, it's I mean, every day is kind of different, but I think one of the best thing about working for these kinds of technology based edtech companies is that the the level of open-mindedness and the opportunity to try new things is always there, which is kind of unique for big companies, because big companies tend to be more conservative. But I think Kaplan is unique in that the leadership has made it such way that let's experiment. Like, the experiment should be the way of life. And if we fail, but let's fail fast, fail forward, and move forward. That should be the motto. So I think that way, my day-to-day is taking a lot of risk. That's my day-to-day life. Spending a good amount of money and coming up with new ideas for new experiments in education. What are the next new thing that we can try out in the market and see what is successful? So a lot of brainstorming. We have an international team. There are teams in India, some in UK, and most of them in the US. So it's a getting together as a team with different time zones is a bit of a challenge, but always a good thing. It's good to see all the unique perspectives that people bring in, and clash of ideas and experimenting.
Yeah, I love that, and it definitely shows then that Kaplan's kind of positioning themselves for the future. I mean, a lot of big businesses get disrupted because they stop experimenting and they become stagnant. So it's exciting to hear that somebody with like a massive vision for the world in the future is able to experiment instead of and able to empower that feeling of experimentation to the rest of your team, as opposed to showing up and doing this same thing over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
So cool, man. Let's dive in. Let's go into this business lesson. What is the business lesson of the day for everybody listening?
Yeah, you know what? I think when it comes to business lesson, I tend to not separate out business lessons and life lessons in general. I think there are 24 hours in a day. We sleep for 8 hours, so there's not much of an impact. But the remaining 16 hours, in 8 hours is our professional life, and 8 hours is a personal life. So your professional life is a significant portion of your entire life. So it makes who you are. That's a strong identity. So whatever you learn in personal life can be applied to a professional life, and whatever you apply in professional life can be learned in personal life. So I think on that note, one thing I did, a biggest business lesson I think I would say that I've learned is constantly pushing yourself and moving out of your comfort zone. Because what I've realized is, I mean, no matter how many degrees, no matter how much you get educated, all the knowledge you have will become redundant. It could happen in a few years, it could happen in a couple of months, or it could happen even in a few days. But what cannot change is your ability to keep learning new things. That has to be there all the time. Maybe your appetite to learn new things can increase or decrease, but your ability to keep learning new things has to be a constant. That has to just be there. I mean, constantly keeping yourself updated. Because an example that I would say is, I mean, I grew up in I grew up learning to code in C and C sharp, but C++. We don't use that anymore. I mean, although the basis of many of the languages is that kind of language is gone. How many people use Cobalt? I mean, these are like gone.
Right.
But the newer technologies are making the older ones redundant, but they're building on it, and it's transformed to an age to a stage where um, things are fast becoming outdated. Skills are becoming outdated. So if we are to stay relevant and contribute meaningfully to the future of mankind or whatever job we are in, it's important that we learn every single day, push ourselves out of a comfort zone, and implement those new learnings in those new areas.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to grow and be successful.
Awesome. I love that. I'm a huge fan of Never Stop Learning ever since I got into entrepreneurship and I launched my first startup, and we sat down in a room and we put out what our core values. The first core value was never stop learning. Like, we all recognized we were inexperienced and didn't have all the skills we needed to succeed. So we're like, what can we do to be successful? We just have to learn as much as we can. And I want to comment on something, which is it's not just you're practicing this, not just in learning new technologies and learning new languages, but I've seen you have an MBA, you went to Harvard Leadership School, you've studied economics and political science. So you've jumped out of the technology and the engineering background and dipped into all of these other fields. Like, what motivated that in the first place to do that?
I think when I was growing up, I think I always had this flair or this affinity towards multiple new things. I was curious and trying to learn different things all the time. Like, for example, I play the violin and I play the piano, and of course I was going to school. I was good at I was trying to become good. I wasn't that great, but I was trying to be an artist. I was kind of in this exploratory phase, and I think someone made the comment which resonates with me, even not resonates, I mean, kind of it reminds me of where I am today. Someone said, jack of all trades and master of none. Don't be that, is what they said. I was like, why not? I mean, why? What's wrong in being a generalist? And as the more I grew, the lessons you can learn from art and that you can translate to your technical journey, or the technical lessons that you can art in your artistic journey or a language lesson. These are highly underrated, in my opinion. The translation, the skills can be translated from industry to industry, and it is important that at least for someone like me, who glorifies being a generalist, I draw the inspiration from Elon Musk. Elon Musk is probably one of the most high functioning generalists of our times, right? I think it is okay to master the art of being Jack and be good at all trades rather than just being the master of none.
Right.
I think you have to embrace that broad-mindedness. I think it brings that flair of opening up your skills and learning from multiple other fields. I think that's a very unique perspective you can gain by exploring different avenues and different industries.
I agree. Yeah. It's major, and I love that you brought up the Elon Musk example. Somebody else that comes up to mind is Leonardo da Vinci. And I looked up to him a lot growing up, reading his work, studying his sciences, that quote also hit me at a younger age, where people were telling me, like, why are you going into all these different things, science and business and politics, and learning about all these things? Stop. Don't be a jack of all, be a master of one. Yeah. And I just struggled with accepting that as well. But, I agree with your opinion on generalist. It's not for everybody, though. I mean, I think it works for somebody like Elon Musk in a position of leadership. It works for somebody like you in the position you're in, balancing teams of different skill sets to put together innovation forward. So for the people, and I imagine a lot of the people listening to this, they're entrepreneurs. They want to be in this position of bringing together different fields and different expertise to succeed. Now, I can think of an immediate challenge that I'm curious about this, and then we'll move on to the next section, which is, you come back from an engineering and science background, which is incredible. And so did you find that it was easier to learn the other stuff, the economics, politics, leadership? Was it harder? And what could you tell people that like struggle with making that jump into other fields?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I've always grown as a more affinity towards technology, but of course I was open to other. I was looking at other things too, like art and others. But the more I became a technologist, I think what I realized was that my mind was working very black and white. It's either a zero or a one. That's
Right.
engineers work in a binary kind of mode, like zero or one. But I think when I signed up for in my London School of Economics or Harvard or my MBA, where what I did, it broadened my horizon to something more. I mean, treading the gray area, and I think that is very, very important, um, because life is always a gray area. There is nothing ever in black and white, so you can't make a yes or no decision that easily. I think
Yeah.
what the business thing got to me was it showed me that it is okay to be in the gray area. Like, for example, business problems are not something that can be solved programmatically or algorithmically. Like, when you have a market problem and you have a certain budget, there is no right or wrong way on how you spend the budget. I mean, of course, if you embezzle the money, it's wrong. But
Right.
I mean, to solve the problem, there are multiple ways of using the budget to solve a problem.
Okay.
So I think it's a matter of sound judgments, concrete assumptions, validating the assumptions, and then trying to solve the problem. Uh, so I think that's a new world that, as an engineer, I wasn't exposed to. I could
Okay.
solve a problem, from a software or a very technical standpoint, troubleshoot, get it up to working. But the business problem is a whole different scene. So I think my advice would be to go with an open mind to embrace that uncertainty, because it's not going to be the 0 1 binary or the black and white scenario that we see in core engineering problems.
Awesome. Thanks for that perspective. I love it. I meet so many engineers, some of which are like incredible in this space of entrepreneurship or public speaking or whatever else. And you know how it is if you go to a college engineering campus anywhere in the country, like I would say there's a good amount of introverts. It's okay. Like I'm sure we were in that crew before. Let's move on, man. Into the moment of gratitude. We talk about this moment of gratitude. I find it really important to be grateful for everything that we do have and look inside for the motivation to keep us moving forward, because the external validation isn't going to take you to where you want to go. And so I'm a big, I say it all every episode, of course. So tell me, Karthik, what is, something that you're feeling particularly grateful for today?
Yeah, I think I'm really, I mean, there are many things that I'm grateful for, of course, from my family to my wife and everything else. But I think I think since it's kind of a life lesson discussion, I think one thing I would say that I'm particularly grateful for is when my dad, kind of literally kicked me out of the house. I mean, in a good sense, not in a bad way, in the sense that at the age of 17, he basically said, I mean, you're going to engineering school, but you're not going to look for engineering school in India. I grew up in India. It's not going to
Okay.
be India. Go out. There's a whole big world out there. I've given you enough wisdom. Go use that and use that to navigate your life. And that's where we land in Dubai, in an international environment. It's a cosmopolitan environment with, and did my engineering there. So at 17, I got exposed to this, a very different cosmopolitan atmosphere, never been there. So that was my first time going out of my comfort zone. And ever since then, I got this affinity or this kind of a adventurous travel bug kind of a thing. So I traveled to so many countries for my education. I lived in about 5 to 6 different and read or work about 6 different countries and traveled to numerous countries. I think what I did learn from that is humans are the same everywhere. So I think that exposure, made me realize it's important to wear a global citizen hat rather
Yeah.
than trying to say I belong to this group or this tribe or this community or this country. It's more important to embrace global citizenship. I think I'm really grateful for that experience, that travel, and that kind of exposure, because I think it gives you such a broad mind, and it helps you to function in a more altruistic manner, um, and truly find your passion in whatever you're doing. Like in my case, I got passionate about edtech because it was helping me. It was showing. I knew I could make an impactful difference in a human's life, anywhere in the world, regardless
Yeah.
of what race or color or what religion that person belongs to. It doesn't matter, but I can make a difference in that person's life because I I am teaching them something through technology. So I think that broad perspective helped me in building international teams, building international products,
Definitely.
and in general having that broad mind and growing things that way. I think that's quite an important life lesson, I think.
I think so too, and way to squeeze in that life lesson into the moment of gratitude. But fantastic. I'm also I'll take I always share my side of the gratitude, and sometimes you guess always reminds me of something, but I'll take a different angle. I spent the last 2 years traveling, with my wife and my family. We lived in Malta for a year, lived a couple of months in the Netherlands, and we're back in Vegas, where I've spent the last 10 years. So I'm grateful for being back in Vegas, and being back home, and having just kind of like the comfort that I'm used to currently, so I can just stay super focused on the business and what we're doing right now. So I think definitely, but I'm also grateful for those opportunities to have traveled, and I've got that bug. I just want to go travel some more after we get
Yeah.
some important things done. Let's do this. Let's dive into this life lesson. We can open that up, open up your travel experiences more. I mean, you traveled when you were 17 years old, going to Dubai. That must have been a crazy experience. Did you speak Arabic, or how did you navigate the language over there?
Yeah, no, I didn't speak Arabic. I think English was good. I mean, I used French a little bit because I do speak French. I speak about
Nice.
6 languages.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Which ones?
So of course English. French used to be my second language in school, so I speak a good amount of French. I mean, I think it might have gone down a bit since I haven't used it in a while, but I can bring it up again once I start meeting my cousins who are in France or anybody from France. But French, and then I belong to a state in India called Tamil Nadu, so they
Okay.
speak a language called Tamil. My mother tongue is a language called Telugu. I speak one of the widely spoken languages in the northern part of India. It's called Hindi. And I speak a little bit of Malayalam, which is also an Indian language. So I think people who know about India know that there are a multitude of languages being spoken there. It's a diverse
That's
country.
incredible. And did you learn that like just by traveling all of India and living in different communities inside of India?
Yeah. I think I picked it up that way, and uniquely, I learned a bit of Malayalam when I was in Dubai, because there's a big community from the state of Kerala, where they speak Malayalam, and there's a big expat community in Dubai. So it was easy
Okay.
to
Oh,
pick up
cool.
that as well. But yeah, I didn't learn Arabic. Probably I should have. Definitely, out of the many things that I've learned, I think that's one thing probably I should have done as well.
How long did you spend in Dubai before you left?
In Dubai for 4 years, in Abu Dhabi for about 3 years. But all this while, I was traveling to multiple other countries as well. So yeah, I can say there is a base in Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fantastic. So just to be clear, I mean, the life lesson here is to get out of your comfort zone and go travel, and you can do that by traveling.
Yep.
While we have just a couple more minutes left, what are, like, you're currently in Iowa right now. Out of all of the places that you've traveled in the world, like, where is next for you? I mean, do you plan on living the rest of your life there in that state, or, curious to hear about that?
Oh yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna settle anywhere anytime soon. Uh, I am. So Kaplan is headquartered in New York City, but I'm gonna be moving to the East Coast pretty soon, either
Okay.
December of this year or early January. I think I'm gonna be moving to Boston. It looks like.
Yeah.
So really looking forward. I mean, I'm going to Boston. I will be in Boston exactly 10 years after
Graduating.
after from I did my course at Harvard. it'll be 10 years when I
Nice.
move to Boston again in 2020.
Good
So,
way to circle back, and maybe you can get invited to give some talks while you're over there.
yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, it'll be good to rekindle my relationships and go back to see school and speak with some bright minds there.
Awesome, man. So this is it. This is your, thank you so much for being on this episode of the Hustle Science Experiment. Loved everything that you had to share with us today. I hope people can get in touch with you and learn from you on LinkedIn and everywhere else on social media. So this is your moment to plug. What should people do after this?
Yeah, travel a lot, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's important to travel and be a lifelong learner. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, I mean, I'm on Twitter at GKI4U, or you can find me on
Nice.
LinkedIn as Karthik Iyappan G.
Awesome. Sweet, man. I'm going to share the links everywhere, and that's GKI for you on Twitter. So that's fantastic. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Elias. Yeah, it's great talking with you.